What's up everyone, my name is Marie, welcome to my channel and welcome to another speed build. So I hope you're ready for a long video because as you can probably tell this is going to be a pretty long speed build because it's a pretty big build. I'm actually building on a lot that I have never built on before. This is in Strangerville, as you can probably already tell, and it's the lot where the airplane, like the crashed airplane lot usually is. I don't know exactly what the storyline behind that lot is. I do think there's like a sim living there by himself in like this basement built with the airplane, crashed airplane decorations on top. I'm not exactly sure, but that is the lot I'm using for today's build, and I've never actually built her before. One, because I do not build in Strangerville that often, even though I think aesthetic-wise it is one of my all-time favorites, because I just have a soft spot in my heart for Strangerville. It's so beautiful, it's so well made. But then also I usually like to try and avoid bigger lots because they're very overwhelming to me and they're very intimidating to try and fill up. But for this world, or for this build I should say, I actually needed a large lot because I wanted to do a large farmhouse build in the world of Strangerville, specifically because, well, for one, I've never done that before. I've never done a farmhouse build in Strangerville. And two, obviously, this is inspired by the new horse ranch pack coming out on July 20th. I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly. I think it's coming out on July 20th. And later today, which by the time this video comes out, it's already out, but later today, there is going to be a gameplay trailer dropping, and I'm very excited for that as well. But yes, that is not related to the video at all. I just wanted to like practice my farmhouse builds and also wanted to do it in like a different sort of like aesthetic world-wise, because I've definitely done my fair share of farmhouses before. I've also built some like ranches, usually in the world of Henford-on-Bagley, for example, or in Brindleton Bay, which are the more like farmhousey type worlds. I've never actually done it here in Strangerville, which obviously has a more like American Wild West type of a aesthetic to it. I'm not exactly sure what the right term for it is. American West, I think, is what the Sims team called it in their blog post about the horse ranch pack. Yeah, but this has like that American West aesthetic, and I thought that would be so cool and so different for me personally to build a farmhouse. So that is what I decided to do here in Strangerville, and I am so happy with how this build came together. The house itself, as you can see, the exterior is coming together. The house itself, exterior-wise, is pretty simple. It's pretty boxy. I was going off of a reference picture of a farmhouse that I found on Pinterest, and it's just this very boxy little house with, of course, a wraparound porch. That is something that I wanted to be featured in this build because I feel like it's such a classic, iconic thing to like do when it comes to farmhouse builds. Is like these wraparound porches with obviously rocking chairs on it, which is also something that I did later on when I started to decorate the place. And then for the rest, at first I actually built this on stream, so it was a lot of fun to work with suggestions and like talk with chat about ideas for the build and stuff like that. So at first I wanted to try and mimic a cornfield type of thing. We don't have corn in the game as a crop, and I also don't think it's coming with the horse ranch pack, but I might be wrong. There is something coming. I'm just not exactly sure. I don't think it's corn. Maybe something else. But yeah, I was set on doing like a cornfield at first by just using like debug grass and sizing it up. And I thought that was actually pretty like a fun idea. But in the end, I actually decided not to do it because I needed all the space because I wanted to create a little orchard and I wanted some animals too. So we actually have a cow as well as a llama included in this build. And I also wanted like chickens, so I wanted enough room for actual like functional gardening and farming that you can do in The Sims. So I wanted to have enough space for that and then also for the animals, and I decided to go for 2 animals because we had the space for it and I thought it was fun. Obviously no horses included because there's no horse pack yet, but I can only imagine how fun it would be to kind of like redo the whole exterior, well, not the exterior of the house, but the farming part of the lot, if that makes sense. I think it'd be a lot of fun to actually include horses in here. It's not the biggest lot ever. I think it's a 50 by 40, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I think it is. So it's not the biggest lot in the game. But yeah, you could just delete like the orchard and maybe like the cows and the llama and like add a space for horses maybe later on. But yeah, that wasn't really the goal of this build. I just wanted to build something inspired by the horse ranch pack to kind of like practice my farmhouse builds and just have fun with it and feel inspired by the whole aesthetic of what we've seen so far. So that is what I'm doing here in this build. And then here you can see I did something I have never done before. A lot of creators have done this before. For me, it took a lot of fiddling and playtesting. I didn't like leave all of that in the video because, like I said, I did this on stream for the most part. So it was a lot of playtesting, fiddling around. But what I did was I created custom sheds for the animals. So here you can see that I placed 2 sheds for 2 animals, and then I started kind of like building around it. And trying to get everything to work. And then in the end, what I did was I sized down the sheds to a very small little size using the tool mod, and then I kind of hid them in debug buckets that kind of look like water buckets for the animals. Here you can see I kind of like jumped ahead in time, and you can see that I playtested because we have a cow and a llama now. I actually moved a sim in to the lot, like to this build, and I had her purchase the animals, of course, and then I moved her back out and went back into build mode after I was done playtesting, but apparently the cow and the llama stayed, and you know, I wasn't mad about it. I thought it was a cute addition to look at while we were building. I thought it was cute. So yeah, there is a cow and a llama, and if you're confused on how this works, their sheds are basically hidden away in the little buckets that you can kind of see there, and it's all still functional. I playtested it thoroughly. I needed to do some fiddling around after I was done actually building the whole thing. I went back and playtested everything again. I did move the buckets a little bit because at some point the cow was like standing inside the fence that I later on placed, and the placement was just a little awkward. But yeah, I fiddled around with it a little bit more to like make it work to the best of my abilities, and I think it actually looks really, really cute. So how this works is everything is still functional. If you want to clean out the shed, you can just click on the shed. Like I said, it's hidden away in the little bucket, so you can still see it. You just have to look for it a little bit. And then you can still click on the shed and actually clean it, refill the feed in there, and do all the things that you acquire the shed for, basically. You can still do it, and you'll see your sim kind of just walk into the shed that I built. And the same goes for the animals. Whenever they go inside, they kind of disappear, so that still happens, but sometimes they're just hanging out in the shed, and they'll just be standing like in the shed that I built for them, and that's all perfectly functional. It might not be perfect, but it is functional, and it looks cute, and this way you kind of just have like a custom little shed that gives you a nice break from the one that we have in the game, because we only have one version of a shed, like obviously in different like swatches, but it's only one version of a shed that I didn't really think fit the vibe that I was going for this build specifically. Something that wasn't functional in the end, so I swapped that out. As you can see that I tried to use this debug gate for the fencing that I thought looked nice, but that wasn't functional. My sim couldn't actually walk through it, so I in the end actually deleted that and just placed the gate that matches the fencing that I'm using. It looks a little bit less fancy, but it's functional, which is important. And then for the rest, you can see that I use this, like, I think it's supposed to be a water tower type thing, but it also kind of looks like a silo. Not really, you know, but it kind of represents something farming related is what I was thinking. So I used that one. It is a silo or water tower or whatever it is from the high school years pack. There's also one that comes with the Strangerville pack, but I hadn't used this one before, and I thought it looked cute, so I decided to use this one from the high school years pack. It has some graffiti on it too, which I thought was fitting because this farmhouse is really old. Like, it's an old generation's farmhouse. You can kind of see that by the weathered wood that I'm using on the exterior, which is actually a wallpaper that came with the Island Living expansion pack. So that was actually very fitting. And then I combined it with a brick. This brick, I think, came with Realm of Magic, and it's really nice looking because it once again looks a little bit weathered, and I don't know, I just thought it fit the vibe of this build quite nicely. And then something I didn't actually record was the floor plan, because the floor plan, of course, took me ages to do, because this build is, for one, pretty spacious and also boxy, which weirdly makes it more difficult for me personally to do floor plans. I like it when the houses have more like bump outs. because that way you can kind of follow along with the bump outs, if that makes sense, and kind of just follow along, like follow the home's natural shape. I don't really know if I'm doing a good job explaining this, probably not. But basically what I'm trying to say is the more bump outs a house has, the easier, quote unquote, it is for me to do floor plans. This house is pretty boxy. It does have a few bump outs, but it's pretty boxy nonetheless. So I did the floor plan just by myself. It took me ages, but I figured it out in the end, and I think it turned out really nice. So for the floor plan, it's actually a really big house. It fits up to 8 Sims, and then I also put in items for a cat as well as a dog, but I did forget to place a litter box, which is classic for me. I always forget the litter box. Sometimes I won't, but this time I definitely did. So if you do decide to play with this build and you want to have a cat, I suggest just placing a litter box somewhere. But that is a pretty easy fix because there's plenty of space for it here. But anyway, yes, this house ends up having, oh gosh, I think 5 bedrooms. Yes, 4 bedrooms upstairs, 1 bedroom downstairs, and then 3 bathrooms total, which is 1 hall bath downstairs and 2 hall baths upstairs. The upstairs is very symmetrical when it comes to the floor plan, which was new for me, but it does make sense. I will obviously show you the entire floor plan in detail at the end of the video after the speed build portion when we jump into the game and I give you a little tour of the place. I will give you a quick overview of the floor plan so that everything becomes a little bit more like clear for you, because this goes pretty fast. But yes, we have plenty of bedrooms, and I furnished it for, well, I was actually thinking of like a generation type household, multi-generational type of a household, if that is how you can word it, I have no idea. But I was definitely thinking that the grandparents would be living here. Also, I placed this weird trailer. I thought that was a fun addition. I don't know exactly why I did it, but maybe like the stable hand or like the person helping out with the animals or helping out with the farm, like back in the day, maybe they had someone stay in that trailer or something, or maybe they actually used it for vacations. I don't really know, but I thought like the old trailer that is now unused, just sitting there at the back of the lot, I thought it was such a fun addition and just goes with Strangerville and the whole vibe of the place just really nicely. Like I said, I wanted it to be like an old farmhouse, but not necessarily gross and run down like crazy. Like, it's still, people live here, people are living their lives farming, and it's still like functioning, but it's just an old house. That's kind of the aesthetic that I was going for. But yes, so I furnished the house for, I mean, you could go with whatever, but I was thinking 2 grandparents, so a married couple basically. They use the bedroom downstairs, and then there is 2 parents, also married, and they use the double bedroom basically upstairs. And then there is 1 bedroom for a toddler and a shared bedroom for 2 children. And then there's 1 extra bedroom. At first I was like, maybe I want a teenager in this house, but I kind of decided against it. I don't know why, but I wasn't really feeling the teenager vibe for this house. So I was thinking that the parents, so not the grandparents, but the parents living in this house, the grandparents are also parents, but you kind of probably know what I'm trying to explain. The parents living in this house who sleep in the bedroom upstairs are still probably pretty young, and that means that the grandparents also aren't like the oldest grandparents. They definitely still do work around the farm, is what I was thinking. And the parents obviously also help with that. Maybe one of the parents also has a regular job, for the lack of a better term, that doesn't include the farm, but maybe not. Maybe they just all work like on the farm. It's a family business basically. And then those parents have 3 children, so 2 kids, 1 toddler at this point. And then if you wanted to, there is 1 extra bedroom, but now that we have the growing together pack, and if you have that one, you'll probably know that sometimes Sims just randomly come over to your house and they ask if they can stay for a couple nights or maybe sometimes even for a week. So guest bedrooms or extra bedrooms actually have a function now, which I think is such a fun addition. So it isn't as pointless as it used to be to decorate guest bedrooms. So that's what I decided to do for this house as well. And then also the guest bedroom functions as a little bit of an office space because there is a desk with a computer in there. We also have a sectioned off like office space downstairs that I at first wanted to put in a computer, but I didn't really like the vibe of a computer in that space. So what I ended up going for was a piano and a bookcase and just a love seat so you can do some reading in there. So it's basically not really an office. It's more of like a music slash reading, maybe like writing music type of a room. So that's what I turned that into, but I still wanted a computer in this build somewhere because for gameplay purposes, that is just very useful. So I decided to go for a very old little computer upstairs in the extra bedroom because I imagine these people not really using computers all that much. They also have a very old TV that they probably barely ever use. It is the TV that came with the basement kit because, oh my goodness, I am obsessed with that TV still. I know it's crazy because it's a very old little television that isn't really great quality. It's also broken. But I just really love how it looks. It's such a vibe, such an aesthetic, and I thought for this build it was actually perfect. But here you can see I was starting on decorating the wraparound porch, and I later on went back and added some more stuff to it. Basically, I just decorated it with chairs and plants and some planter boxes too. I did fill up the planter boxes with actual plants and flowers from the catalog. If you want to use the planter boxes for actual gardening, you could just very easily delete the plants out of there and then maybe rearrange them a little bit so that they're all like functional, but then you can actually use them. That being said, we have a lot of gardening plots here that you can use for gardening as well. So there's plenty of space for gardening, plenty of opportunities. But yes, later on I wanted to actually add some more activities to the build. So I went back and I think we have a woodworking bench somewhere. We have a flower arranging table somewhere. We do have a telescope. I placed that one. We have a chess table. One thing I didn't actually place is an easel, but you can obviously very easily place that. We also have a guitar outside by the rocking chairs. I thought that was such a classic thing to like add for this aesthetic, like this type of a farmhouse, the rocking chairs with a guitar next to it. I could totally see someone just fiddling around with their guitar, sitting on that rocking chair on the front porch. It's such a vibe. I thought it was so perfect. So that's what I did, and then we also have a piano in here and obviously some toys for the children in their bedrooms as well. Later on I also placed the Monkey Jungle bars outside and also a swing set, so there's some activities for children outside as well. There's also a fire pit. I believe I placed a fire pit somewhere as well, so that's kind of fun. Like a fun family activity pretty much. But yes, this house, basically when you walk through the front door, there is this huge entryway. It's pretty big. It's a little bit weird because it's really big, but I felt like for some reason it kind of made sense for this build, so I just went with it. It's nice because what it does give is a very nice like open landing area upstairs. Like it has this like balcony effect and it's like open to the ground floor and it's huge and it just looks really cool and old-fashioned basically in my opinion, so I thought that was a really cool feature. But here off of the entryway on one side of the build we have the living and dining room. I really like this couch on a diagonal, like on an angle. I wasn't really sure how to lay this room out because the shape is a little bit wonky and it felt a little bit small to me, like small in the sense like it's not small, but compared to how big this house is, it kind of felt like a small living room section to me where we have the fireplace and stuff. But I feel like I open it up a little bit by placing the couch on an angle. I feel like that really helps. So that is what I went with. And actually something that we found as we were decorating this was so perfect. You can see the painting that I placed above the fireplace. It's a painting with a horse. And it's actually one from the Strangerville pack. So we were just kind of talking about this. It makes you wonder, like, did they plan a horse pack? Because Strangerville came out years ago at this point. But we do have a painting with a horse. It might not mean anything, but we all know the Sims team, and there is little hints everywhere. Sometimes there aren't. Sometimes we make things up. That is true. But I want to say, like, a painting with a horse, it makes you kind of wonder, like, did they maybe plan the paint or the horse pack, like, for like earlier, but then obviously we had a whole thing, like a global thing happen that we all are aware of that we don't want to talk about. So maybe it got pushed back or something, or maybe they just teased it very early on. I am not exactly sure, but it was kind of sus to us that there is a horse painting in the Strangerville game pack, which came out years ago. But it was perfect because this build obviously is inspired by the Horse Ranch pack, so we obviously had to place that painting above the fireplace in a spot where you will always be able to see it. And then there's a couple other swatches from that painting that just work really nicely in this build, so I placed a bunch of them around. And then we have the kitchen. We also have the dining room, basically the living room and the dining room combined in one space because the kitchen is big, but the shape is awkward, and I knew from the get-go that I wasn't really going to have the space for a big dining table, and this is an 8-seater or an 8-sim house. That being said, I think we have a 6-seater dining table in here because that is what looked best, so I just went with it. I was just like, you know what, you're probably not going to have all 8 Sims eat at the same time. It's fine, we'll go with a 6-seater round dining table. But yes, so here you can see we have the kitchen, and the kitchen I was fiddling around with forever. I did cut out some of the footage because it took me so long to like figure out what to do with the space. And the kitchen is a little awkward, but I like how it looks. I really like the back door situation by the island counters that we're working on right now. I really like that little L-shaped island counter section where we have the sink and then also a little breakfast spot with some bar stools. I thought that was just so nice. And then we have the back door here with like some dog stuff, leashes and things, and a little coat rack. I don't know, I just felt very serene to me and just nice and almost something from a TV show, if that makes sense. That's kind of what I was going for aesthetic-wise with this build anyway. That's also because it feels like that to me because this aesthetic is so not something I'm familiar with. To me, this is very American Western movie show type of an aesthetic that I have never seen in real life. So this to me, like I'm Dutch, if you didn't know. I live in Europe. I am European. I live in the Netherlands. I was born and raised here. I am not familiar with this aesthetic in real life. So to me, this very like it becomes cartoonish to me very quickly, which isn't a bad thing. I love that about The Sims in general, the whole like cartoony aesthetic of it all. And then especially when it comes to styles like this that I am not familiar with, it's very fun to kind of like look at it, maybe try and exaggerate it in a way that is still like cute, if that makes sense. So I don't know, it's just kind of fun to look at it that way and kind of imagine this family living here, and it's a whole like TV show type of aesthetic in my brain. I don't know. I build in The Sims for aesthetics mostly, also because I want stuff to be functional and fun for gameplay, but mostly to me it's like an aesthetic type of a thing. So I really enjoy playing around with these different types of styles that I'm not familiar with, which can also be intimidating to like take on a style that you're not familiar with because you don't want to like offend anyone, if that makes sense. Or I never claim that I'm an expert at anything in general, but also in The Sims when it comes to building and styles and whatever. I am not an expert when it comes to anything, but I still like to step out of my comfort zone, which this definitely was. Like I said, I have never done a farmhouse in this aesthetic before, so that was definitely a new thing for me. When it comes to clutter in this build, by the way, I tried, emphasis on tried, to tone it down because this build is already so big. I was experiencing some lag for this build because that's also because I was like streaming it and recording it and building it all at the same time. So my computer was like, can we calm down a little bit? So I was experiencing some lag. I also did parts of this build without streaming it, so just by myself. It was a lot better. I didn't really have any lag then, but I can imagine this build being so big and pretty detailed that it gets laggy pretty quickly for most people. So I decided to try and tone it down on the clutter, but also I am me and I get carried away with clutter quite easily. So I tried, is what I'm going to say. I succeeded mostly when it comes to the bedrooms. But when it comes to like kitchens, living room areas, I just want it to look cute and lived in and realistic. And I have this picture in my mind of the family doing their thing in this house and like living their lives. And it's going to be a little messy, like not always like cleaned up all the time. So yeah, when it comes to that, I just have this vision and I can't help myself. I clutter. But for the bedrooms, I really repeatedly told myself, okay, tone it down, keep it simple, because when you're playing in a house like this, when you actually do decide to download it and use it, you're probably going to redo the bedrooms a little bit anyway, because they need to suit your Sims' personalities and your households and things, and all Sims are different. So, yeah, you're probably gonna like go through and redo color schemes and like little details and decorations and stuff when it comes to bedrooms. Usually, that's kind of what I imagine people do. I'm not exactly sure. Let me know. Do you actually use builds from the gallery, or do you just build your own stuff, or do you just watch these videos because you think it's fun and you don't really download? That's mostly me. I watch a lot of speed builds, but I never really actually download houses. I just watch them because it's aesthetic, and I just really enjoy watching speed builds and like looking at people's creativity. It's just so fun and inspiring. So I imagine that being that way for most people, but maybe you actually do go ahead and download houses that you find on YouTube. I think that'd be so interesting. Let me know if you do that. But yes, so when it comes to the bathrooms, I only decorated one on camera. The rest I just did kind of by myself, and I only did this one that is the downstairs, one and only downstairs whole bathroom. There's no en-suites for this house. I thought that was realistic because this is a pretty old house, and I have talked about this before, but to me, en-suites aren't super common, especially in old houses. So I feel like most old houses don't really have them. And maybe that's probably different from place to place in the world. But I thought because this is such an old house, there's probably not like plenty of bathrooms everywhere because it's pretty complicated and expensive, I feel like, to build bathrooms, if that makes sense, like in real life with all the plumbing and stuff. So there's probably only as many bathrooms as strictly needed, which is 3 for this house. So 2 upstairs because we have 4 bathrooms or bedrooms upstairs, and some of them are even shared. So 1 bathroom per 2 bedrooms, I feel like was perfect. And then obviously downstairs we have the grandparents' bedroom. And then there is just the whole bathroom that's also for guests or for just your daily use, basically. I feel like the upstairs bathrooms don't get used as much during the day, if that makes sense. That's a lot of talk about bathrooms. But yes, here you can see we have the landing situation. You can kind of see it here already in the speed build. That is like a very open balcony effect type of a landing that I think is just so fancy, and it looks so cool, and I feel like it really suits the weird aesthetic of this house because, let's face it, it's a nice farmhouse and I feel like it looks cozy, but it's also a little weird. We are building in Strangerville, so this house probably does have some sort of a past to it as well. I don't really know. Which one thing, by the way, speaking of Strangerville, I talked about how Strangerville is one of my favorite worlds aesthetic wise, but I still don't build her all that often because, for one, it's kind of small. There is only so many lots to pick from, so I'm not here like building all the time. But one thing I will say about Strangerville, I wish this pack came with an option to just turn off the Strangerville gameplay. That would be so nice, because you don't want to always play through the whole thing. You're gonna have these weird people, these possessed people, weirdos walking around in the world, coming to your house for your freaking welcome wagon, and it's just annoying. There's gonna be these weird plants, these weird like mother plant type things popping up everywhere. No, can we just get the possibility to turn that off and not have to do that whole thing and just kind of pretend that this is a normal world? That would be so much appreciated. I would love that. I feel like I would actually play here a lot more. I don't really do gameplay that often anymore anyway, but I don't know. I always avoided Strangerville. I remember there was times where I was like, oh, I wish I could build a house for this family in Strangerville, but then there's going to be this whole weird thing going on that I don't want to have to deal with. So I just stay away from it, basically. But if you could just turn it off and just use Strangerville as a normal world, That would be amazing. But alas, that is not the case. Now, I am very excited about this new world coming with the Sims Horse Ranch pack. I forget what the name of it is. Appaloosa something? No, chestnut something? I'm not exactly sure. I think it was something like that. I'm very excited to see what that is gonna look like. I think that we will get a glimpse of that today later when the trailer, the gameplay trailer drops, which by the time you're watching this will have already happened. But yeah, fingers crossed, hopefully we'll get a glimpse, like an extra glimpse of the world and see what it looks like. But I think it's actually going to give us a nice world that is a similar vibe, maybe different, probably different, but like a similar vibe to Strangerville, but just normal, for the lack of a better term. So I'm excited about that because I love this vibe. Like I said, it's so unfamiliar to me and it's so different, and I just, it's such a breath of fresh air to me that I can't wait to have another world in this like aesthetic type of a thing. I'm very excited about that. But I totally talked over all the bedrooms. I'm just ranting at this point. We are working on the shared children's room right now, which did take a little bit of fiddling because it's shared and I decided to not go for bunk beds this time. So I didn't have a whole lot of space to work with when it comes to toys and activities, but I tried to fill it up to the best of my abilities. We have a desk in here for them to do some homework. We have a Blarfy and a toy box. The toddler has building blocks and a Blarfy, I believe. And that is it toy-wise, but we do have activities for children outside, and you could very easily add in some more functional toys. I'm sure you could find a spot for like a creativity table somewhere for children. That is very easy to do. I did later on place a journal on the desk as well, so your Sims kids will have like a little journal to use as like an activity to do. And then after the kids' shared bedroom, we're moving on to this extra bedroom that I think is a lot of fun. One thing that was also out of my comfort zone for this build was the amount of patterned wallpapers that I used. Oh my god, it's a little bit overwhelming, but I felt like patterned wallpaper was just the way to go for this build in general because of the whole aesthetic and the whole vibe that we're going for with this one. So there's a lot of patterned wallpaper all at once going on at the same time, but I tried to go for patterned but muted colors so that it's not too annoying for you to look at when you're actually playing in this house. And then I think there's one room, which is the parents' room upstairs. I think that one has no patterned wallpaper because I needed a little bit of a break, but I think that that is the only room that has no patterned wallpaper aside from like the kitchen with a brick and the bathrooms with a tile, of course. But yes, that was pretty much already it for the interior of the build. So we do have this little porch off of the dining room area where I placed a grill and stuff. We have a grill, an outdoor dining table. We have a couple of those actually. We have a small outdoor dining table on the front porch, and then I also placed a picnic table somewhere, I believe. So there is lots of outdoor dining and hanging out possibilities as well. And then I realized what this house needs is hanging plants around the porch. I thought that was perfect. I couldn't go without hanging plants around the porch for a house like this, like a farmhouse like this. So I decided to go ahead and do that. And here you can see I placed some extra activities because I realized I actually hadn't really placed any functional items pretty much out here aside from the telescope, which the way I placed it isn't even functional. I'm aware of that, but it just looks really cute on the porch. But if you actually want to use it, you can just click it and drag it off of the porch to a spot somewhere else on the lot basically, and then you can use it. But I don't know, I just thought it looked really cute, so I decided to put it on the porch anyway. And then here by the old trailer thingy, I placed a fire pit, and then I was fiddling around with a place for the Monkey Jungle bar. It was kind of like an eyesore to me anywhere I placed it. But the way I place it right now, I think it looks cute. And we also have the swing set here, as you can see, for a little extra activity. And then I also ended up placing a picnic bench because I thought that was cute. And I just did some finishing touches with some debug plans, and then that's it. So let's jump in the game and I'll show you the house in real time. So here we have the farmhouse in the game. I don't even know where to start. This thing is pretty huge for my standards because I never do big lots like this, but yeah, there's like an overview of everything that's going on at the farm. We have an orchard over here with some floating lemons because I sized down these lemon trees because I wanted to create some variation in the shapes and sizes. So we have some floating lemons, but that's okay. We have a pathway like leading to all the staircases to the wraparound porch basically. Over here we just have like a driveway type of a situation with a dried up well and some cars parked. Over here we have another farming area where we also have the chickens. There's just some cute little chickens walking around here. And then over here is where we have the shed for both the llama as well as the cow. It looks like someone's sleeping right now, even though the animal's right here, so I don't know what's going on there. But here is their shed, basically. And then there's a pathway here leading you around the back of the house to this little back porch over here. But then let's check out the front porch. So over here we have the double front door. On this side, there is some rocking chairs with a guitar, a little dining table, a dog bed as well. And then on this side, some planter boxes, a telescope, flower arranging table, and then all the way back here is the door off of the kitchen with an outdoor bin and the woodworking bench. Also a chess table, by the way. When we go inside, I will give you a little bit of an overview of the floor plan. So we have the entryway over here that's huge, as you can see, and it's all the way open to the downstairs when you look at it from the second story, as you can see, which I think is just such a cool feature. Off of the entryway here is a bedroom. We have the kitchen and then the living and dining over here, which then leads into this like hobby room basically. But in the entryway, there's just your basic entryway stuff, a little dresser and some knickknacks, some storage as well. Also a cat tree for the cat, obviously. And then over here is the living and dining, which I think is my favorite part of the interior. Looks like some of my curtains got deleted. I don't know why, but alas, they're gone now. That's so sad. We have the couch and then some rocking chairs over here. We have a bookcase here and a dining table. And then this mirror made a lot of sense in here, I feel like. And then over here is the hobby room with a piano. I thought this white piano was a nice break from all the like orangey wood tones, the dark wood tones we have going on. I felt like this white piano was pretty nice. There's a bookcase in here and just a nice reading nook where we have another guitar and then some knitting and cross stitching as well. And then here off of the living room or off of the entryway, there is a kitchen and, well, another dining area, but this is more like just a breakfast table in here. But yeah, this is the kitchen. It's pretty nice and cluttered, but not overly so. I feel like I like the touch of green here. I think that's nice and refreshing. Then over here, we have this cluttered area with a fridge and a microwave. And then over here, the door leading out to the porch, basically. And off of the kitchen, we have the hall bath. Hall bathroom is pretty simple, just a shower tub combo, a sink, and a toilet, just everything your Sims need, but it does feel kind of fancy to me. Old and fancy. And then over here off of the entryway is the grandparents' bedroom. That's what I had in mind for it. But this room does have a vanity, which isn't something I use a lot, so I felt like that was a fun addition. Then moving on to the second floor, there is this landing that I already showed you is nice and open to the entryway downstairs, basically. Over on this side is the parents' room. This one has no patterned wallpaper, which does feel like it's nice and refreshing to me. They have some wardrobes in here and then just a chair and just your regular bedroom decorations. There is a bathroom over here, which is very small, and then we have the exact same bathroom over here on this side of the house. But here across from the parents' room is the toddler's room. I thought that was convenient placement, close by the toddler at all times. They have some toys in here and a changing table, a bookcase, and just some cute decorations. Next to the toddler's room is the guest guest bedroom with a computer desk as well and some dressers. And then across from the guest room is the kids' shared bedroom, which also looks very cute to me. I'm obsessed with all these orangey wood tones throughout. It's a little bit much, but I feel like it really suits the house nicely. So there's 2 beds in here, a desk, a bookcase, and a dresser, and some toys. But that is basically it for this house. So this Strangerville farmhouse is up on the gallery. It comes in at just over 166,000 simoleons, so it's very expensive, but I didn't really expect it to be any cheaper than that. It has 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, and I built it on a 50 by 40 on the airplane crash lot in Strangerville. So if you want to place it in your game, then that is where it goes. But that's gonna do it for today's video, so I really hope that you enjoyed this one. You can obviously go ahead and download it off the gallery like I just showed you. My username on the gallery is Simmary Sims. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok if you'd like. My username on there is Simmary Sims as well. If you're not subscribed to my channel already, feel free to do so, and if you want to be notified of every single time I upload a video, just click that little bell icon and you should be fine. I also live stream over on Twitch a few times a week, so if you're interested in that, go ahead and give me a follow over on twitch.tv/SimmarySims. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!